last thing I want to talk about, former Pittsburgh Steeler Martavis Bryant, back in the NFL, reinstated after 4 years of being suspended for violating the league's substance abuse policy, multiple failed drug tests. In the words of Stephen A. Smith, the guy could not stay off the weed. It was an issue. He's back. He's 31 years old. According to reports everywhere, there will be interest from him or for him from a number of teams. He's set to work out with the Dallas Cowboys on Tuesday. I mean, the big question here, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they got a couple of wide receivers, but I don't think anybody outside of their top two, and then Calvin Austin, obviously, are like big, giant, splash wide receivers. Should the Pittsburgh Steelers consider bringing back an old friend, former fourth-round pick out of Clemson, who definitely did some good things during his time in Pittsburgh?
Yeah. Well, I feel like you certainly gotta give him a tryout if he wants it. Like that feels like the right thing to do. I don't know. I think they'll give him a look. I don't know how serious of a look that'll be, but I just think it's interesting that there is going to be actual interest for him. Just a guy who's been out of the league for how long? 7 years, you said?
4 years. 4 years.
4 years. Ooh, not that long. But still, 4 years is a long time to miss time in the NFL. And I mean, especially at receiver, where I mean that doesn't necessarily that's not a position that I feel like necessarily ages super well.
No.
And so staying out of the league for that long is not great. But if there's interest, I have to believe there's still something there. So I think you at least give him a look. I mean, you at least, because like you said, I mean, look, even Calvin Austin, like that's not. You've really got two receivers that you feel like are real parts of the passing game. Like Allen Robinson, I feel like has been a little disappointing so far this year. But I mean, that's part of just the entire offense being a little slow to start this year. I mean, Calvin Austin has been hit or miss too. So, having one more impact wide receiver is not the worst thing in the world if Martavis Bryant could actually end up being that. I'm not super sure, but, it doesn't cost you anything to look at him.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I just look at it right now, like Miles Boykin, and shout out Miles Boykin. That guy is, you keep Miles Boykin around as long as he wants to stay here for how good of a special teams player he is. But he caught a pass on Thursday night against the Titans. Like, at that point, what's the difference?
That shouldn't happen. Yeah,
that's
like,
why
not
not
ideal. Yeah.
No, why not just bring in Bryant and see what happens? I think that's the thing is, like, you don't have to sign him. This isn't a guarantee. But if there's interest from a couple of teams, he's going to go through workouts. Nobody's just like, oh, man, dude, did you hear Martavis Bryant's back in the league? 4 years, we're calling him. Did you hear what he did in the XFL last year? I mean, we got to give him a contract. No, they're going to go through workouts. It's going to be a slow process. And maybe he lands in Dallas in the next, 48 hours. But I think that's jumping the gun. Even if you're Bryant, I think that's also jumping the gun. Like, see where your interest is, see where you could land, and kind of weigh your options instead of just, diving into a team that is already loaded with wide receivers. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, just like you said, Allen Robinson's been fine, but nothing crazy. And I don't think you even replace Allen Robinson. I just think that maybe you add to the group. Why not? You had Gunnar Olszewski all season long to start the year, and you didn't not have another wide receiver. You just rocked with 6 wide receivers. Just do it again. See if that's an option for you. See if he still has the speed that you want to have. I mean, you got to remember when he was good and when he was healthy and he wasn't suspended and getting in all that trouble, he was good. He
was really good. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, the dude had spark. Everybody loved him around here. There was no major complaints outside of the fact that the guy just couldn't stay out of trouble. I mean, why not? What's a guy like that cost?
Right,
$700,000. Cool, sounds good.
Yeah, and I mean, for the trouble the guy got in was smoking weed. Like, come on,
you could do that now,
right? Like, what are we doing? So, yeah, I think this is absolutely where, I don't know, in a fun little, I don't know. I feel like for Martavis too, this is a little bit of a tall task. This is a big thing for him. It's a situation that I feel like he's going to want to handle really delicately, and maybe coming back to a place that is somewhat familiar with the coach who's familiar with the coach who clearly liked him when he was younger. I think those relationships will matter for someone who's in this type of situation and trying to make a comeback like this. So I feel like it could be kind of a win-win for both parties involved, and it could be really beneficial to to just have that relationship back for both sides.
Yes, I agree. Like, that's such a good point. If you are trying to make an NFL comeback, the Pittsburgh Steelers have proven that they are very loyal to their players, that they will give you as many chances and tries as you need to succeed. If you're Martavis Bryant, Dallas is not known for the same things. So if you're going to pick a team, and I'm not saying that that's like the only two options, I'm sure there will be other options, but if you're Martavis Bryant, you have to put into consideration, like, maybe it's going to take me a little while to kind of adjust back to the NFL after playing in the CFL and the XFL, where the talent level isn't the same. Pittsburgh is going to give me that opportunity to kind of, adjust and see where I stand in the NFL after 4 years away from it. And I think that could make a world of difference for a guy trying to make an NFL comeback. Spot on. We'll see what happens. I'm sure there'll be more news on him in the next 24, 48 hours, and definitely by Wednesday, but definitely a name to watch for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't see why you wouldn't at least give him a try. And if he, makes a phone call and says, "Hey, coach, remember me? 4th round pick, guy who, I caught the ball with my butt that one time." We should see what happens here. And I think the Steelers should say, most certainly come in for a workout.